Hello everyone and welcome to a new video, a new podcast from me, your host, Manuel. And so what is this about? This is sort of some videos that I do, and I talk about some different type of arguments and topics. And my intention is not really to be right, but just to spark something, different perspective that maybe it was not considered, or usually they're not considered when talking about some topics. I'm particularly good at looking at different kind of perspectives. So every time in every one of these videos, I try to talk about something. And what is it gonna be today? Today is gonna be something very curious. It happened some months ago. So in this summer, the summer of 2021, and you can already see the picture and also the title of this of the news. And yeah, so I want to talk about this this thing that basically the person that appeared as a baby in the very famous Nirvana cover album basically is suing I guess they're suing Nirvana for sexual exploitation, child sexual exploitation. And so this is the picture. Actually, this is not the full picture. This is has been cut, and the not relevant parts have been taken out from the picture. In fact, you could see basically the whole baby fully naked, and the picture is about just this random baby. From my perspective, this is a random baby in the water, which is, it really creates a nice effect, that is trying to grab a dollar. And it's very curious how that this man now, I think, is much older. He's probably in his 20s or 30s. This man, the man that was this baby, is now suing Nirvana. And I'm probably not gonna start talking about I'm not really interested too much about how right or wrong it is in some ways. Like, I can understand why they're talking about some child pornography. It's just weird that is the person himself doing it. Like, it should have been banned by himself, the album, if this album was perceived as child pornography. You wouldn't need someone waiting for 20 years to be like, oh, wait, but this famous album that everyone has seen, this cover, this picture has been seen by so many people, you don't get it. This is actually child pornography. Now, usually when we talk about child pornography, people basically understand it immediately. There is always the problem with one of the problems with art is that sometimes when it tends to be edgy, it can create these easily these scenarios where people do not really know what to feel. But luckily, it's all about, there is a lot of there is a lot of part of the people and the general perception of an artistic art. If art piece is not perceived as art, but it's something perceived negatively for other things, then is usually banned or is usually not considered as art. But instead, if something which tends to be edgy and wants to prove a point, it just proves it sort of naturally, then it is not really considered, in a negative term. But I'm not really an expert about this, I'm not probably gonna really go too much. So I just wanted to touch the argument of is it really child pornography or not? I have the impression that it is not really, but I leave it open, to interpretation. What I'm really more interested to talk about is actually the meaning of the picture and how somehow it fully represented the situation so impressively. And then for me, just actually incentivize even more how of a powerful piece this picture this is somehow. So basically the picture, what is there, one of a possible interpretation, artistic interpretation of this piece is that you have a kid which is trying to grab, or a baby which is trying to grab $1 in the water. So what some interpretation that we can have is basically, that's probably what a lot of people perceive as soon as they see it, it's the baby represent the inner baby that everyone has inside, or something that it's sort of the unconscious part of ourselves, the one that sort of does things without too much logic going on, not too much thinking. It's the nature, the inner side of us, the inner baby somehow. Then it's all about what you usually attribute to a baby. So all those characteristics that we attribute to the baby, like an experience, discovering of the world, it's like we just want something easy, immediate, like that's what it represents here. Then it's fully naked, representing that it's some sort of naked part. If we take out all our masks that we have as we grow up, we tend to create all these layers of who we are or something. Maybe we are not, maybe we are. If we take out all these layers, there is this inner baby somehow. And it's interesting that this inner baby, and the water on the background, just this photo was actually taken underwater, but the water just creates this feeling of some sort of, we don't really know where we are, this universe which should probably be inside us. And in fact, in many or at least I remember in some movies, or sometimes in animation, we wrap the inner self, or people thinking, or the inner part of ourselves is usually represented of us, visual representation of us in this watery environment, and sometimes it's actually a very young part of ourselves in this water. But that's what it is. That's what I perceive it is. This inner part of the inner baby inside ourselves, in this in ourselves, which is the water, and what is trying to do? What's the perception? What is trying to do? This baby is trying to grab $1. Is trying to grab money, which is on a hook, which is very interesting. It's not just money that it's there somehow by himself. The hook is basically, it's something that goes away basically and traps us. So that we have this hook that traps us to do something, and there is like this dollar, which is money, which it represents money. And it's very funny that it's just $1. It's not 100. It's not 10,000. It's just the concept of dollar. That's why it's just one, or that's why I think it is. And there is this baby, which represents the inner part of ourselves, which is trying to grab the dollar. So it basically, what is this album, this cover trying to tell us, is that there is an inner part of ourselves which is always gonna be attracted to money. And unfortunately, money is just a trap. So it's not really gonna make us give us what we want in the end. It's just gonna give you something. And this baby is trying to grab it. Now it's funny because probably this baby doesn't really know that that's $1. That's probably the only thing that they give him in front of him, and it was like, oh nice, I want to grab it. There is no probably real understanding of the baby. So in reality, so I want to make this comparison from reality and the artistic point of view. In reality, the baby doesn't really know that what he's doing. He just sees a dollar and he wants to grab it in the water. And but the artistic interpretation, which is the most important one, I wanted to talk about it a little bit more. It's basically the inner part of ourselves, which is represented in this water. This baby in the water is just attracted to money, and that's somehow, it's very true. That's why we identify a lot of ourselves and we like the cover of the picture of the album. And it's also interesting that there is the hook, because it means that it is just a trap in the end, and that's what it is. And so this is, I don't really wanted to, I just wanted to explain the picture, what it is, at least from my point of view, in that artistic way, and why I don't consider it child pornography that much. If you look at the full picture, you might feel a little bit uncomfortable. But the thing is, the immediate interpretation, it's so obvious that you don't see that. If you sort of look at it in a different manners, then yeah, it might create some problems. But like this picture, without anything weird showing off, it is still fine. I think that they wanted to show all the baby just to give more of an impression of how small we are in this watery environment, and then the perception that this dollar and is actually getting it. So I don't see any ill intent, but apparently the person that is now much older, the person in this picture, which in 1991 when this picture was taken was a baby, and now this man is much older. This man wants to sue the Nirvana, for money, basically, and is claiming that this image is child pornography. Now the thing is, he's the one to say that is child pornography. Not many people came out and say the same. Like, if this picture was child pornography, people immediately understand that it is, and they try their best to ban it. But somehow he feels and he thinks that this is child pornography. Now I don't really want to take down, because obviously if someone thinks that there is something bad about something, they should be feeling to give their opinions, and that's it. Critics is very important in our society, to make us think and everything. But I want to give another perspective of this lawsuit, which is one of the interpretation, which I'm very intrigued to consider somehow. It's how this man is basically still trying to get that money, that back from Nirvana in this case. And so this baby is trying to get this dollar in the picture. Now 30 years after, 30 years after, this man, from a baby he is a man, is still trying to get that dollar with, in this case it's trying with a lawsuit. And that's very interesting, because somehow it even reinforces the artistic power of this picture somehow. Like, the artistic interpretation was this inner part of ourselves which try to get and grab that dollar, that money, and then you look at the reality, and you have this same person in the picture that is trying to do the same, or you can argue, or you can see that is trying to do the same thing. It's trying to get that money, and in this case it's trying to get it from the same people that made money with his cover. It's very interesting how true this. So it's very interesting to see how true in the end this picture turned out to be. Really, like, the same person in the picture in the end became, like, somehow the consequence, somehow the same thing that it's represented there. And yeah, I like that's exactly what I wanted to talk about, and that's what my perspective um, is. Now obviously I don't know how it's gonna be. Maybe in the end it will be appear to be right, and then they're gonna give him the money. He's suing Nirvana for how much? $150,000. I mean, it's not really that much, I think, for Nirvana. And yeah, it's saying that basically in this case I think his problem that in the end is shown naked, but the thing is that from like if you were to see the baby and if you were to see him nowadays, you wouldn't know that it's him. Like, it's probably the guy that is going to say around, oh, I'm the person in the Nirvana cover, and they're like, oh wait, so that's your stuff, right? And I know that it feels weird to be seen naked, and that's a problem, but no one will assume that it's you. The moment you say that picture, that baby in the picture, it's you, then it becomes common knowledge that okay, that's you naked then. But in this picture, you don't care if this person, it's him. The picture just represent the theoretical inner part of ourselves. That at least that's how I always interpret it, and I think a lot of people do, and that's why they're attracted to the cover of the album, and that's why then they buy the album. And somehow it just shows how powerful the group was, and how clever. Like, I mean, everyone knows that they're amazing. It's unfortunate that things came out how it turned to be, but it was very talented, a lot of talents. So that's what I wanted to talk today. I hope that you liked the video, and if you did, well, just hope that you enjoyed. So see you next time. Have a nice week, have a nice day, and yeah, be great.